I grew up in Corbin, a tiny little town in southeastern Kentucky. The county that I grew up in was and is still one of the poorest counties in the state. As a result, my family, we didn't have a lot of money. There wasn't a lot of educational opportunities. But as I look back, I can clearly see the advantages that I did have. I have two wonderful parents who raised me to believe that if I worked hard enough, I could do anything I wanted to when I grew up. I also have a mama who loves the Lord, and as a result, she had my sisters and me in church every time the doors were open. I also had the advantage of growing up next door living to my granny and papaw, and I have such fond memories of going over to her tiny country kitchen and eating suppers with my family. We'd all get together and we'd talk, we'd laugh, and we'd pray. I moved away from my hometown and was the first to go to college in my family. It was during this time in my life that I could see things were changing as I began to question everything I knew about God, even His very existence. I completely walked away from my faith. Looking back, I had so many opportunities. I lived out a childhood dream of being a cheerleader for Kentucky basketball. I also experienced what it was like to perform in front of more than 60,000 screaming fans as a Cincinnati Bengals cheerleader. In 2009, I trained and won the title of Fitness Universe champion. That same year, I also fell in love, got married, and shortly after, I had my son. From the outside looking in, my life seemed to be quite perfect. But what I've learned is that life isn't always what it seems, and it can change so quickly. 2011 was the start of the most difficult time in my life. I went through a personal struggle that left me brokenhearted and completely devastated. In a matter of months, I lost my marriage, my home, my identity. I just had my son. I didn't have a job. I felt like I had truly lost everything. I can still remember the night I was in a tiny room in my parents' house, and I was on my knees just weeping. And I can remember calling out and just saying, God, if you are real, I need you right now. Please help me. At this moment, His grace and mercy met me right there. And I can remember what He spoke to my heart. And He said, Brooke, if you trust me, I'm going to restore back everything you lost. And I'm going to give you a life you could never dream of. In the days that followed, I became determined to overcome the depression that I was experiencing. I wanted to lose the baby weight that I had gained during my pregnancy, and I wanted to inspire and help other moms that might be going through similar situations. I started searching online, and when I couldn't find anything, I had a creative idea. I started my website called skinnymom.com, where moms get the skinny on healthy living. What started out as a small blog with a few of my closest friends has now become a healthy living resource for millions of women around the world. In 2014, I received an email from a large publishing company asking if I had ever written a book. At this point, I had only ever dreamed of writing a book. I knew God was opening this door for me. After much prayer, I began to write my first cookbook. This cookbook has a special place in my heart. Not only do I get to share some of my favorite recipes, many of which were inspired by Sunday suppers at my granny's, but I feel like I get to share a piece of my story. As I look back on my journey, I am just in awe of God's faithfulness. With each day that passes, He continues to make good on that promise He made to me in that tiny room. I am living a life I could have never dreamed of. I want to encourage you, if you are going through a situation that you don't understand, or maybe you find yourself in a place of brokenness, trust God, because He wants to give you hope, and He has incredible, wonderful plans for your future.